Silence speaks, freedom from Kosas. Saints of higher attainments are generally relieved of the Manomaya Kosha or the mind sheath. It does not mean that they lack the mind. It means they are off with the covering that serves to keep them bound to the world below. At the stage of liberation, one is relieved of all the five koshas or sheaths, without which one's naked form could not have come into view. Complete freedom from these koshas is an essential feature of realization, and that is possible within the lifetime of a man too. All these things shall come during the course if only one remains adhered firmly to his final object or goal. It would be the greatest blunder to apply effort for the shattering of these sheets, because in that case one would be straying away from the real purpose. I'll pause here. Go ahead. Transformation. Realization is neither a game of contest with the nerves and muscles, nor a physical pursuit involving austerity, penance, or mortification. It is only the transformation of the inner being to its real nature. Change transformation can be brought about in two ways. Firstly, by desiring for it, and secondly, through force. But in the latter case, there is no lasting effect. So every Abhyasi should intensely desire for his transformation. So the desire, intense desire for the transformation is essential. Realization. You request me to make you mine and to take you to be mine alone. I'm trying to do that very thing so that you may become actually mine, though I am already yours. It is to say that you wish to experience that which is the very end of every activity. It is just as if a child were to say, let me first understand the thoughts of Milton or Shakespeare, and afterwards I shall try to learn the alphabet. Or for an Abhyasi to say, let me first realize God, then I shall start worshipping Him. When the very thing you seek comes to you, why should you then worship at all? He alone can climb up a height who has created in himself recognition of his lowliness. In accordance with your own way of thinking, you may be right in saying, unless I have the real experience, I cannot be said to have full conviction. Unless I have the real experience, I cannot be said to have full conviction. For this, please create in yourself the things required for the actual experience of that which you mean to seek. No doubt you believe in divine grace, but that kind of shallow belief cannot serve the purpose, nor can it even be called grace at all. We consider it as divine grace if one gets under the charge of a perfect master. However, it depends upon your grace to set him into action for your own self. I shall, however, request you to watch and see whether His grace has already come into action or not. If without sufficient abhyas you try to draw His will towards yourself, it shall then be your own will that shall begin working in you, and thereby you will promote in yourself nothing but leaps of fancies and crowding thoughts. This condition shall be presenting to your view only an effigy of spirituality. You say that when you experience a condition which promotes peace, you conclude it to be the effect of my working. What can I say to it? Just watch and contemplate over it, linking your mind with the thought, then alone may it be possible to understand. Take a pause here. Realization can better be defined as a state of changelessness, which is a condition seldom bestowed upon man, even in the course of thousands of years. But if one happens to get a master who has attained it in full, and the Abhyasi too is keenly interested in and really earnest about it, it becomes quite easily attainable. But so long as there exists the feeling of his existence, it is not complete realization. It follows, therefore, that even bliss is a drawback. Do not be afraid of it, brother. It is such a superfine condition that whomsoever God pleases to bless with it will be prepared to undergo the hardest pain for it rather than part with it even for a moment. I believe that may be sufficient for your understanding and satisfaction. You have gone away from this place, but you have left your memory with us. You have been a guest who, on departure from the place, took away the host as well, along with himself. You must have conveyed my message to your friends. Now it rests with the master to carry it home to their hearts. Any questions, anything to add?
So some clarity on this paragraph, sir. Bliss is also a drawback.
Which one?
Bliss is also a drawback.
It follows, therefore, that even bliss is a drawback. So what I understand here is because there is a feeling of ease. So when we say that we are feeling bliss, right? It is our existence is there, and that is why it is saying that this is a drawback.
Bliss is also a vibration in the mind now. Yoga, we are going beyond the mind into the true nature of self. We are achieving balance or harmony or union with the self or God who is behind the mind. So, as long as mind is there, that is a manomaya kosha. You are still under the influence of koshas. After you are realized, mind will be an instrument. You will use it, but you are not bound by the mind yet. So any vibration you believe is truth, even if it is bliss, you're still under bondage. You have to be liberated from the mind itself and all the other 5 koshas.
Shall we go ahead? Mergence. Your remark, I want to live in you, is really worth weighing in gold. As a matter of fact, dear brother, my very being is alive due to you all for having completed my work long before I would have by now gone away from this material world. Now, until you all have brightly illuminated the Sanstha, I do not even think of going away. When the condition of mergence, after having crossed its limits, assumes the form of identity, then whatever thoughts come arise from the heart alone. That must probably be the reason why Sri Ishwar Sahai has put you the query, has Babuji got any heart? But in response to the query, you have made the fittest offer, saying, please keep my heart with you. To be clear, I could never have remembered you at all if your heart were not with me already. Go ahead. Viveka. A man is born today. He goes on growing, developing his senses and faculties by stages. A time comes when he gets ripened, both in wisdom and folly. Occasions sometimes arise when he has to make clear-cut decisions as to what he should do to serve his ultimate purpose. He comes across men of knowledge and learning who put things to him in diverse colors. They talk about the philosophy of Dvaita, Advaita, and Vishishtadvaita. He hears them and takes impressions thereof. He takes into his understanding the views about God, men, and the universe, and also about Maya, Jiva, and Brahman. All the discussions and the interpretations bring to his view the same thing in numerous different colors. He presumes that he has acquired the real knowledge of things and is able to interpret a thing in several different ways. But that is all mere superficial knowledge having no relation to the actual realization of the thing. Of what avail can that knowledge be in the practical field? This is generally the case with most people. Realization of simplicity. The realization of God, which has so far been considered extremely difficult, requiring hard labor and persistent efforts for many lives, is not really so. God is simple and can be achieved by equally simple means. The hard and fast rules of life and tiring practices prescribed by teachers for realization have really made the matters so complicated that people are led to believe it to be beyond their power and capacity. I may assure you very sincerely that realization is not at all a difficult thing, only if you earnestly divert your attention to it. Realization, faith, and confidence. We must march on the path of realization like a brave soldier with full faith and confidence, not minding the difficulties or reverses. Rejections and disappointments weaken our will and shatter our firmness. Realization, primary object of life. If we divert our attention towards God and feel realization as the primary object of life, naturally we shall begin to look upon it as the first and foremost thing in comparison to everything else in the world. Realization, self confidence. The most important factor in realization is self confidence in our own capacity and power to achieve success. It is absurd to think, even for a moment, that we are in any way too weak or deficient to acquire the highest state of perfection ever attained so far, even by the greatest sages of the past. Any questions on realization or anything to be added? We'll go ahead. Be firm. Be firm like a rock, and success is sure to dawn by itself. Indecisive attitude leads to half hearted efforts and generally results in mere partial success or more often in failure. Craving. One should develop craving for realization. What is required for it is an iron will. When it is there, the goal is just in sight. Half the distance is crossed if a man enters the field with a firm mind. Eternal solution. The problem before us is not to find out a solution to our present life, but for all lives that we may henceforth have in the wider sense. It covers the entire existence of soul in various forms, gross or subtle, at different times, till the time of Mahapralaya, final dissolution. So we'll go ahead. Anandam. Mind generally has two trends, the one directed towards the world or diversity, and the other directed towards the ultimate or unity. There must be due adjustment in them. Excessive attention to either is a drawback. That is where an ordinary worldling differs from a true saint who can, at will, turn the downward tendencies of his mind upwards. That is not within the capacity of an ordinary man. A sage, having fully entered into the state of unity, retraces his steps towards diversity. In other words, when complete mergence in the state of unity has been achieved, there remains nothing in one to be negated. A reversion therefore comes in just at just as it is in the case of the center, which includes within its sphere a state of existence which subsequently develops in form and shape. That means that for the real state of merging, the expression merging in unity is inappropriate. For then there remains not even unity, The most appropriate expression for that would be, it is as it is. But at that stage, there is no Anandam, no charm, not even bliss. It is a condition of statelessness. One pulled up to this stage might feel himself undone, since he might be feeling neither interest nor joy nor even Anandam. That is, in fact, the real Anandam which one might aspire for. But then one might say that this does not agree with the description given in the Shastras as the storehouse of Ananda. But that is only a misconception, for the real Anandam is not the thing that can in any way be associated with the feeling of joy or happiness. Now, if one is brought up to it without undergoing the conditions at intermediary stages, he will neither have confidence nor command. At the higher levels of approach, the sense of feeling also ends. Differentiation is almost lost, and ignorance develops without any awareness of it. As a matter of fact, I have, for that reason, become quite ill fitted for elementary training. People of the primary standard who come to me for spiritual training get from me some of my own state, or at least something similar to that. And that is exactly what they do not like at all, for that would not be suited to their taste. They would like to have something exciting, pleasing, joyful, which may not be there according to their sense of understanding. A vulture will relish a piece of rotten flesh more than the sumptuous dish of a man's meal. If I transmit to them from a level considerably lower to mine, I begin to feel heavy panting because I am not accustomed to that condition. I may, however, come down to a certain limit if it is the need, but that too only for a minute or two. Any questions? We'll go ahead. State of realization. There are many systems proclaimed as the best and the most efficacious, and all of them, no doubt, claim realization as their goal. But here we must pause a while to weigh them all with the heart's eye. I use the word heart because it is the nucleus and creates the vibrant motion whereto it is directed. This is the field for the mind to work, and this is the instrument by which we develop the discriminative faculty. The subtle forces work in this plane for the descent of divine energy. If somehow our thinking conjoins with it, or we train it so that it may percolate the right thing and direct it towards reality, the problem is solved. But that is impossible unless one tries to have a clear view of what realization is. Every religious minded man and scientific explorer is of the opinion that it is the subtlest force that is working. You can easily know it if you are away from the grossness which you have gathered around by your misguided thoughts. Now you can easily deduce that if it helps our movement towards subtleness, the method is correct. But if it tends to enlarge yourself with grossness, it is not only wrong, but it also pulls you down, and realization becomes far distant. Miracles do occur. They may be classified under two heads, one of divine nature and the other of material nature. The purpose of the former is always godly, whereas that of the latter is worldly. The former type of miracles are awakened to him who proceeds by subtleness, and they solve the problem of life that confronts us all. On the other hand, those proceeding along with grossness develop miracles of the latter type which overburden the heart with it. Heart. If, however, one gets absorbed in the conditions of the lower attainments, he as a whole become a knot, so to say, with a whirlpool inside for himself to be drowned. If that power is utilized on others, they will also be dragged into the same whirlpool. I must point out in clear terms that miracles of subtle nature are developed by those who are entrusted with divine work. In our sanstha, one may hardly find an abhyasi having unflinching faith in the master, free from subtle miracles. But the master's hand keeps him under control, not allowing him to peep right or left, lest he should go astray. He is not even conscious of them, but they come to his knowledge when the nature of divine work assigned to him demands awakening of the hilem shadow, which promotes miracles, but only of divine nature. I do not enter into further details on the point. Suffice to say that even if one can put a man onto right path, that is one of the best miracles. The technique of our path, though quite simple and natural, is beyond common grasp, since it adheres closely to the absolute reality and proceeds on subtlest lines. It prescribes meditation on heart, thinking of the divine light, but the Abhyasi is directed not to view the light in any form or shape, like the electric light or the moonlight. In that case, the light appearing therein will not be the real one, but only as projected by him. An Abhyasi is advised to proceed with a mere supposition of it, with the thought of the divine at the bottom. What happens then is that it becomes the subtlest, with the result that we thus meditate upon the subtlest which is to be attained. Every saint has used the word light, and I too cannot avoid it because that is the best expression of reality. But that creates some complication because when we talk of light, the idea of luminosity becomes prominent and we begin to take it as glittering. The real light carries with it no such idea. It refers only to the real substance, or more appropriately, substanceless substance. Under our system, an Abhyasi, no doubt, sometimes sees light, but the glittering light appears only in the beginning when matter comes in contact with energy. In other words, it is only a clue to show that energy has begun to work. The real light, as I have discussed in the efficacy of Raj Yoga, has the color of dawn or a faint reflection of colorlessness. Under this system, much emphasis is laid on removing the grossness so that overcloudiness which hovers around the soul be removed. That is for all preceptors of the mission an important part of their duty. Still, much is to be done in this respect by Abhyasi himself, who is prescribed a method for the purpose. I do not mean to touch the point why we meditate upon the heart, since it has already been discussed elsewhere. Most of the scholarly saints have tried to define the state of realization in numerous odd ways. But to me, it appears that if it can be defined, it is not realization. It is really a dumb state which is beyond expression. Feeling or observing luminosity within or without is not realization at all. During the early period of my Abhyas, I often witnessed and felt luminosity, but that not being the goal, I proceeded on under the watchful support of my master from light to grey, as Dr. K.C. Vardajari rightly puts it for our system. It is not, in fact, the light in the sense of luminosity that we are finally proceeding to, but to that goal where there is neither darkness nor light. As the problem of our institute indicates, emblem of our institute indicates. What that can possibly be is beyond words. We'll go ahead. Consciously, the inner craving of a human heart is the attainment of the real. This is the ladder for one to ascend towards the unknown. When this craving is satisfied, we also become unknown to ourselves. We thus enter a state of oblivion where self is totally forgotten and the consciousness of body or the soul is all gone. The impressions of existence which encumber the heart are all washed away. One cannot imagine what he is or what others are. The tie of relationship is broken and he does not feel himself connected with anybody. In short, he loses his very entity. He does things which leave no impression upon him. The formation of samskara stops and he is free from their effect. He thus acquires the state of nishkam karma, so beautifully discussed by Lord Krishna in the Gita. At this stage, man attains an almost balanced state, similar to that which prevailed before the creation came into existence. His heart is quite calm and mind disciplined. He is so much absorbed in Brahm that he does not like to part with it even for a moment. He's so he can no longer meditate either on God or on himself. If, however, he attempts to meditate for a while, breathlessness will follow, since he is swimming in the sphere where there is no density. At this stage, they say that self is realized, but that is wrong impression because there one knows what he is, and this is what this lay so much stress upon. What happens at this stage is that the cells of the body begin to get transformed into energy and then finally into its ultimate. There is no charm, no attraction, and no anandam in the popular sense of the word. It is a tasteless state, unchanging and constant. It can more appropriately be described as sange benamak, a lump of salt from which selfishness has been taken away.
Saltiness.
Saltishness. Okay, yeah. Saltishness has been taken. Take a pause here. We'll go ahead.
Yeah.
Having attained the state of realization, one develops an unfailing will in the spiritual sphere. Though in a state of forgetfulness, he is the knower in a limited sense, of course, of all the sciences of the world. God is the knower of all things, and one who is absorbed in him must also be the knower with due regard to human limitations. But though limitations are broken by the Master, still the sense of humanity is not lost and the instinct remains throughout, because if the instinct is absorbed, the man will leave the body at once. So, in that state, he looks both upwards and downwards as the situation demands. It is therefore necessary to have an unlimited view in order to attain the unlimited, and the method for its attainment must also be the right one. Under our system, the dormant energy of the centers and subcenters is awakened so as to enable them to function properly. When the higher centers are awakened, they begin to shed their effect upon the lower centers, and when they come in contact with the divine, the lower ones get merged into them. Thus, the higher centers take over charge of the lower ones. The lower centers too are cleaned so as to relieve them of the grosser effect which keeps them enwrapped. That alone is the natural force, and I think no other method except that followed here can ever bring out such results. Every trainer of the institute, having firm faith in the master, can bring out such results in an instant if the Abhyasi has developed capacity for it. At this stage, there are numerous different states which are acquired one after the other during the course of our march. But the condition that exists there is such that if an Abhyasi attempts to cross over to the next by self effort, he is unable to bear the strong flow of the divine energy and instantly slips down. It is only the power of the master of caliber which can keep him up to overcome it. At the very highest stages, the flow gets stronger because godly energy becomes still subtler and the subtler force is naturally more powerful. Generally, learned men, though I respect them much, express their opinion about realization or its condition on the basis of their learning and not upon their empirical knowledge, which is really the dependable one. For that reason, I regret to say that realization has now become a present day art. The reality has deep, sunk down deep, leaving its outer cover for the artist to paint with colors according to their mental taste and skill. The result is that people begin to focus their attention on those very paintings and get into them to an extent which is neither spiritual nor real. I believe one must not have any right to touch the subject of realization unless he has attained it in true sense, whereby the divine wisdom has awakened in him.
Very big article.
Yeah.
So at least when we say, "Oh Master, thou art the real goal of human life," when you use the word Master, the gist of this state of realization, faint idea should crop up in your mind, and whenever we talk of Master or think of Master, that idea should be faintly be in the background actually. So the view of the goal is not, should not slip away from your consciousness. It should be in the conscious mind only, and gradually that starts. That completely establishes in subconscious mind, then it becomes naturally part of your conscious mind. So the view of the goal of negation has to be, should not allow that to slip away from our conscious mind whenever we are thinking of Master or whenever you're doing constant movements. Like all of us now are interconnected, and then the Sri Ramchandra's consciousness is connecting all of us and is flowing through all of us. And then we are all interdependent and part of that force. At least if you think and then dwell in that idea, your mind will become immediately silent actually, which is the truth also. That force is pervading us. But if you develop the practice and then enjoy that calmness, that is a practice we have to do actually.
Any questions?
Mind you, this yoga, or when your mind, if you're aiming for self-realization, unless we have a genuine or a sincere worshipful attitude towards the Master, and you crave or you sincerely look forward to touching him and then communicating with him, you want to develop it, unless you have a clear idea that you want to develop intimacy with him, all our practice is only superficial and ritualistic. So you should really have that reverential, worshipful attitude towards God or the Master or Divine Light, and that has to be practiced actually. That is what it is a commandment of the Master. Second commandment only talks about that, and the 10th commandment also about prayer and all that. So otherwise, it's all ritualistic practice. You will, if you just relax, all your lurking desires will come out again, and then you will not stay on the path. You will be falling from the path actually. So unless if you have this kind of a worship and devotion attitude, then day by day your interest in meditation will become stronger, it becomes deeper, and then finally you will not be able to avoid or stop thinking about God. You will be automatically thinking about God. You cannot stay away from that idea of God at any time. That will come only when your passion for the goal keeps on increasing if you practice it regularly. We have to keep trying for that. Our practice should become an obsession at some point. Okay, we'll meet next Sunday then.